Okay, well now we can get the words of Nigel Farage, who joins us from America. Nigel, welcome to the show. Nigel, it's absolutely kicking off this side of the pond. Suella Braverman has waded in today saying the Islamists have taken over. Nigel, you've been talking on this for a long time. What's your situation about the unfolding anarchy on British streets?
Depressing, upsetting, but I'm afraid from my perspective entirely predictable. This is the direct result of irresponsible immigration policies from both Labour and Conservative governments over the course of the last 25 years. The encouragement of multiculturalism, the encouragement of identity politics, the encouragement of everybody having a label and everybody being separate, rather than us all being treated equally before the law. This is where we've got to, and I'm afraid, add to that a lack of moral courage and leadership coming from government, coming from the Church of England. We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten what we are. We are a very tolerant country. We believe in freedom of religious expression. Of course we do. But here's the point. Everything we believe in, everything we've built over the last 1,000 years and more is based on family, nation, and underpinning all of it are Judeo-Christian principles. I mean, they're right through our constitutional settlement and everything else. And we've forgotten that. We're afraid to stand up for that. And now it's that is being crushed. And to see fear stalking the corridors of Westminster in the way that it is a deep international humiliation for our nation.
And Nigel, I saw your show last night and you were showing those shameful images of Big Ben with those messages on from the river to the sea, and Number 10 has waded in the last hour this side of the pond again, agreeing with GBNews that projector should have been taken down. The police should have intervened, yet Nigel, once again, they didn't. They stood off and they let the mob do their worst.
Yeah, well, 2 points there, Martin. The police's behaviour on this, ever since the first pro-Palestinian march in London on the Saturday following the October the 7th obscenities, ever since, it's been a hands-off approach and people chanting things in the street. I mean, if you and I were doing that, I mean, we'd be locked up in short order. And the second point goes back to what I was saying a moment ago about moral courage and leadership. The fact that Number 10 has come out in the last hour and said this is an act of followership. They can see what we're saying, they can see where public opinion's going, so they say, oh, we better say something and go with it. Number 10, the Prime Minister, should have said something about it as soon as it happened. But I'm afraid there is no leadership, there is no courage.
Now, Nigel, I'm also joined in the studio by Chris Hope. He's got a question he'd like to fire at you.
Nigel, Chris here in the studio in London. You are speaking at CPAC shortly. What are you doing in America? Do you want to be in politics over there as well?
Chris, I've been coming to CPAC for over a decade. And the first time I was here, a lot of people asked the question, what's a Brit doing going to an American Conservative conference? And I was the only foreign speaker on the stage. This year, over 20 countries are represented, including the presidents of El Salvador, the president of Argentina, senior representatives from countries all over Europe, Australia, Japan. So what has happened is that CPAC has become the meeting place for genuine conservative movements from right across the world, including, of course, this year, a former British Prime Minister as well.
Here, of course, you want to be the UK ambassador to America if Donald Trump, your mate, wins the election. Now, you know, I wrote that story with The Telegraph 7 years ago now. Is it really going to happen? Is that what you want?
I tell you what I want. I want to make sure that an incoming Starmer government has a good relationship if we have an incoming Trump administration. Why do I say that? The relationships between our countries have never been more important. And that's not just in terms of trade and investment and money and, of course, culture, which we share to the most extraordinary degree. No, I'm talking about NATO. I'm talking about defence. I'm talking about the safety of the West. And given that Keir Starmer's party have got senior figures like David Lammy, who've said very disobliging things about President Trump, given, and we've had confirmation of this, that there's been no reach out from Starmer towards the Trump campaign, he will need somebody in Washington that is a bridge between them and the American administration. And the last thing they should do is to appoint somebody with an Oxbridge first and a career in the Foreign Office. They won't even get through the front door of the Oval Office at what is a crucial time for global security, with perhaps the threat of war being closer than it's been at any point in our lifetimes. All I'm saying is, if it's not me, it needs to be someone like me. It needs to be somebody who can build bridges between a Starmer administration that's been abusive and an incoming Trump presidency. And I think in the national interest, that makes a lot of sense.
Nigel, a lot of people will be looking to America and saying, well, it looks like Trump's going to get back in, and we look back to Britain and we seem to be facing our darkest hours with what's going on here. A lot of people saying there's a Trump-sized hole in Britain. Is that a job that you should fill?
Oh, well, look, I don't think this interview should be an extended job interview for a variety of things that I might and might not do. For now, I'm here at CPAC as a speaker, but I'm also here carrying the GBNews flag, and I'm very pleased to say an increasing number of people walking past are coming, stopping and saying, yes, we've heard of GBNews. So the channel isn't just, Martin, as you've pointed out, leading debate and conversation in Britain with a remarkable degree of influence. We're becoming better known here too.
That's great. So thank you very much for joining us, Nigel Farage. Good luck at CPAC later on.